Welcome to this episode of Chester Centurions Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ross Worthington, the founder of Yr Adventures, an outdoor adventure company based in North Wales. Since 2010, Ross and his team have been delivering mountain-based experiences, from guided hikes and fell running to leadership training and charity events. In this episode, we'll explore how Yr Adventures grew from a side hustle into a thriving business, the challenges of running an outdoor adventure company and keeping your clients safe, why work-life balance should be life-work balance, how Ross has adapted his business to support charities and outdoor education, the importance of saying no and staying true to your mission, and finally Ross's top 3 tips for entrepreneurs, especially those turning their passion into a business. Let's dive in. So welcome to the Chester Centurion Podcast, Ross. Before we get started today, I'd love to know a little bit more about what you do and how long you've been trading.
Hey, hi, Alan, and thanks very much for inviting me to come along. It's a genuine kind of pleasure, and I like whittering on to people about what we do. So hopefully I'll be able to keep you engaged and people will find this interesting. A bit about me, for sure, myself and Yr Adventures. So I set up Yr Adventures with my wife, Kate, back in 2010 when we moved to North Wales. It's something we both had an interest in terms of being active in the outdoors, enjoying the mountains. And we initially set it up really just the two of us. And from that and how we approached our delivery in the outdoors and dealing with our clients, very organically, we've grown over time, and we now have a little team of 5, including ourselves. Actually, probably 6 now. Thinking about 6. Sorry, forgot Rebecca. How rude of me. We use some consultation services from a few different people for specialist areas to keep us kind of on point. We're based up in North Wales, right at the foot of Yr Wyddfa, Snowdon, and we've developed different strands of business over time, all the things that we've loved doing, basically. So that's us in a nutshell-ish.
So what kind of strands are we talking about, Ross? If you could elaborate on that, what is it?
Of course. We work anything that's fundamentally land-based in terms of adventure, in inverted commas. We love the time in the mountains. Kate's a really strong, competitive and competent fell runner, mountain runner, trail runner, and has grown over that in time. She's got me hooked into it a few years back as well, as I was mentioning just before we started. And also, so anything that is really that draw to the mountains. We work with a lot of charities. So we have some brands under the Yr Adventures umbrella, which is Climb Snowdon, Climb Scarfell Pike, Climb Ben Nevis. And we deliver open dates throughout the year for people to book on and join. Just kind of click, go, come and join the team with one of our leadership team. They'll take them out, look after them for the day and give them a fantastic time. We support a lot of charities through that endeavour as well. Another thread that we have is we work with schools and educational institutes with Duke of Edinburgh, because it's something I've always been involved with as a participant, and then through to instructor level, we've helped create programs for open centres, school and academy groups. And we really enjoy getting that opportunity, getting young people out into the outdoors on their own adventure, which is really what is one of the key things that got me into this. Although Kate was different, she'd never dealt with DV. That was very much more a family link. So we do Duke of Edinburgh expeditions and residential opportunities for climbing and mountain. And then we also deliver leadership training in the outdoors. So if people want to get qualified to work full-time in the outdoors, or as a bit of a side hustle, or just want to expand their knowledge and build their confidence, we deliver all of the walking qualifications from the national governing body, mountain training. So we teach people about lowland leader walking and how to manage groups in the lowland countryside, and then in the hills and moorlands, but hill and moorland lead, and then also now with mountain leaders, so people who want to go to the pointiest of pointy things and deal with walking and hiking in the mountains. We also deliver climbing activities and mountaineering year round. In the winter season is upon us now. So we'll take people out and introduce them to using ice axe and crampons in winter up onto the mountains and staying safe. And then random projects as well. We do a lot of business to business, like white label event development and delivery. So we work with some really big companies, and we're in the background on the ground. We're the boots on the ground, doing all the safety stuff, making them look good.
Sounds cool. Sounds so cool. So what motivated you to start your own business, and what was the driving force behind the decision to take that entrepreneurial leap?
So for myself and Kate, it really comes from our love of the mountains, the UK mountains and the outdoors. It's as simple as that. It was originally intended as is referred to now, as a side hustle, with the intent of something we would build up and deliver for ourselves, sort of in retirement, as it were, which seems ever so close these days, I feel. Back in the day when I'd envisaged doing stuff myself, I then met Kate on my journey to becoming qualified. We met actually in North Wales at Plasy Brennan on our mountain leader training course back in 2006, I think it was, March 2006. And we went from there to actually what really kicked it off for us, Alan, was beyond that love of nature and the outdoors and adventure and sharing that with people is necessity. So I was a police officer working in the southeast. I had been doing that for a number of years. I'd worked predominantly as an investigator, as a detective, and worked through into specialist roles. And we were looking to move after we had our daughter in 2009. We were still traveling. We were working. So I'd work in police. Kate was working for another outdoor company. And at the weekends, we'd be away working, doing stuff, different adventures, challenge events, 3 Peaks challenges and days in the mountains, DV training, all that sort of thing. And decided that the M25 was horrific and we'd had enough of trying to navigate it to get to anything of deep interest. Like, we need to get out of the southeast. Went into to look for different opportunities as a police officer to transfer. Had one here to North Wales, and then just as we were about to sort of step into our new life in North Wales, we'd sold a house down south, bought somewhere up here. We had a change in government in May 2010, and they put a freeze on all police transferees nationally. So I was suddenly stuck and went, oh, and my bosses at the time were very good to me and said, take a career break. It'll only be a couple of months and then you can just carry on with it. Kind of 2 and a bit years later, it was like, oh, okay, it's like this. So we still had to fund moving. I didn't have an income. Neither of us had an income. We knew that we could earn some money from freelance work as mountain leaders, but it wasn't going to be enough to really sustain us. So we went out and we looked for contracts working in the outdoors, which is why we started to work with other companies in a sort of a white label capacity where we would do things for them in the background. And from our professionalism, I would like to think, how we approached them and how we could straddle from being a freelancer in one place and work for one business and then work sort of behind the scenes in another business and not cross over in a negative way, as in we're not swapping trade secrets or anything like that. We're being outwardly professional. Then we built up a good reputation and built the business from that, really. And looking for opportunities. It's like, where can we go? What can we do next? So really, really necessity. If you know you've got to put food on the table, it's quite a good motivator.
Oh, 100%. I mean, some of the best businesses have been built from necessity, but I also like the fact that you've monetized your passion, you've monetized what you love, and that's really cool as well. So what are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and how would you go about addressing them?
We could just talk for the next day about that, couldn't we? I'm
Yeah,
sure many of your other guests have done the same thing. For me, I say it probably comes in terms of questions that were asked, especially in the business that we find ourselves in. So we are in the fortunate position, I suppose, roll back a little bit. I joined the police because one people would say is like a genetic mutation, because I was a 3rd generation police officer, but equally through a want to help other people. And this opportunity working in the outdoors gives me that ability to help other people, see them grow and develop in a far more positive environment, as opposed to meeting people on their worst ever day and helping them then. I can meet them when they're a little bit nervous about something, but they're in for probably like their best ever day. So we can just make their day even better still. So it's just a nicer a nicer medium to do that from. But the difficult bits is all the misconceptions, I was going to say, is I often get said, "Oh, this is the best job ever. You're so lucky to do this. It must be so great being your own boss. You must have so much fun." And these things are all true. I shan't lie. But it's the best job ever when it's not lashing down with rain, howling with wind, when you're trying to deal with the person that's having a meltdown because they hadn't prepared properly or their kit's failed, or you're dealing with a freelance instructor who's had some sort of family catastrophe the evening before they're supposed to be on the mountain with your group, and then you've got to locate an alternate leader. And do I need to change my plans for the day so I can step in, being a qualified leader myself and the rest of the office team? It's kind of that we can do that. So that if I was just setting something up because I love the outdoors and I want to do adventure and things, that pressure would be slightly less to some extent because I'm reliant on other people. When I've got the ability, skill level and qualification and experience to be able to step in at pretty much any level of things that we deliver, if I had to, I'm always like a backup plan if need to. So those pressures, and that we have felt them at times when it's really acute, you're like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Someone's vehicle's broken down, they're part of the way to there, they're over in Yorkshire doing the Yorkshire Three Peaks. How am I going to find somebody? Thankfully, we've managed it so far through pulling in favours, people knowing that kind of will help them out, work with them, and all the rest of it. So those are the misconceptions. Is like, yeah, it's great fun all the time. It's not great fun all the time. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes I've been sat with my head in my hands going, what am I going to do now? This is not what I'm here for. And actually, in fairness, I spend more time sat on the desk now, kind of like this, organising things, which is not what I got in this to do. So I have to remind myself why I did it, to make sure I get out, don't lose touch with things. That's really important for me.
Some really good lessons in there. Thank you for that, Ross. So how do you maintain a work-life balance as a business owner? What do you have any personal rituals or habits, or that keep you motivated and focused? I mean, we had a quick chat before you came on, and I know you've actually run into work this morning, right? Which is pretty cool. But how do you go about that on an ongoing basis?
So from the outset, and this has been something that I've tried to hold on to ever since the invention of that phrase, the work-life balance, is I try to make it a life-work balance. So
tell us more about that.
So it's more, if we put the phrase work-life first, you put work first before your life. It's just in the phrase how it's been created. So when I got introduced to this years ago, and they used to talk about it in the police, it'd be like, oh, we need a work-life balance. It's like, I don't have a work-life balance. I'm at work, or I'm sleeping, or I'm just knackered to do anything else. I'm like, or I can go, my life work balance is when I have got a day off, I'll do this. If I know that's coming up, I'll try and protect some time. So you can still be effective, or I found more effective at work if I take more care of myself in my own life, to give myself life outside of work, which is really important, which anybody in any business, whether you run your own business or you work as a teacher or something, you immerse yourself in your work environment. You therefore only hang out with people in your work environment, and only your work colleagues get to know you, and there's no checks and balances. So keeping your life that you had prior to work a little bit separate and a little bit part of it is part of it for me. So that's with staying in contact with friends that really know you, so they know if you're having a bit of a wobble, they can see if you're having a bit of a hard time, and they can just give a, hey Ross, you're right, what's going on? Or, oh, you look like you've lost a bit of weight, mate. Or is that an extra grey hair of little hair? We're both follically challenged, so those sorts of comments that help us to get through. So for me, that's really important, and it's really hard. That's hard. I'll probably say that's probably the hardest bit, because you just want to pile into stuff and you get into things, and you really go, and some of my most enjoyable time is when I'm really immersed in work with what we're doing now, planning things, out on adventures multi-days. And it would have been the same in my previous life. I can remember immersing myself in operations that were going for weeks and months. And so that's not particularly healthy. You lose track of the you. And so keeping hold of that and getting a chance to get outside. Like you said this morning, I knew I had to go and pick up the van from the office. So I was like, well, I'm going to incorporate part of my day into a bit of activity. Sometimes I'll walk, sometimes I'll run with the dog, and sometimes I'll just step outside of the office and go for a little wander. We're really, really fortunate where we're based, that we're surrounded by the mountains of Yr Wyddfa. We're at the end of Llyn. so we can step outside. We can just take in some of that natural awe and wonder and appreciate it. And walking as a commute to work is blissful. I remember doing a similar commute in central London and trying to catch the tube across town and thinking to myself, wow, this every day, that's brutal. Whereas I could then do the same 45-minute journey. I could walk and I'm surrounded by trees, mountains, the sounds of the birds, the flowing rivers, and all those things that we kind of take for granted, which lots of people discovered in lockdown, one of the plus sides of lockdown. And that's really good for me. And it helped me process. And so a bit of a journey before and after work helps me process my day, prepare for my day and process my day. So when I get home, I'm back into life mode. I'm not got hang up of, I've just jumped into the car, I've had a stressful journey, someone's ranting on the radio about something, you get back home, you're still really tense. So doing that. And other work-life balance as well, is just try to get that across with our team. We have weekly meetings, ops meetings, and we talk about our 3 things. So something we've enjoyed, something that went well, something that we're grateful for that's happened in the last week since the last meeting. And then we can all share in that as a team, and we get to know each other maybe a little bit more. And we're pretty close-knit because there's only a few of us. So it's reminding ourselves of those bits of why we're doing it, why we enjoy it. And I think finally for me, Alan, is gifting myself time every day to do something for me. And that might be, I've been a bit slack for it at the beginning of this year, but it might be some exercise. It might be reading. So I've immersed myself in a couple of really interesting books, a variety of, I've always got piles of books on the go, and I might drop from one to the other, and it might be something to do with the outdoors, and the other one might be I'm reading a book of this historical drama at the moment set in France. And then I might be reading another one that's to do with, I don't know, like business acumen, or like the small things, how to focus on smaller things to develop. So giving myself some space to read something and know that that's not wasted time, because if I'm doing me well, I can look after everybody else. Like my dad used to say to us growing up, look after number one, and then everything else will work out. Because if you don't, then everything else falls down.
100%. And I like that. I like the life-work balance. I'm going to try and change that in my terminology, and I will talk about life-work balance rather than work-life balance.
I think language is super powerful, isn't it?
How
internal language is one thing, and I'm not an expert in any of this at all, but the language that we use outwardly will influence what we say internally. And if we use the right language around friends, colleagues, family members, it's super, super powerful. And that's one way of, like, it's a little simple change, and we go, okay, that doesn't mean you're devaluing what you do for work, but you're just preparing yourself, because work is a portion of your life. Your life should extend, is lived up to that work life, and it should extend after your work life. So your life should be the prominent part.
I think a lot of people forget to be deliberate about their life part of that as well. So we plan everything in work, and we should make a little bit more effort to plan our downtime as well, to make best use of the time and get the best out of, there's only 3 things you can do with time. You can invest it, you can spend it, or you can waste it. And sitting down in front of the telly and just slouching at the end of the day is probably wasting it.
It can be, but equally for me, sometimes I'm like, we have a bit of a habit in our house, because active, like my daughter's 15 now, she's just studying for her GCSEs for this year. Kate's obviously very active, doing things in the business and outside, and physically active. So sometimes we're like, should we just go watch a thingy on the telly and just take 30 minutes and just chill out? We love watching movies. I love movies. We're a family of movies. That Kate's quite theatrical historically, so we have a joy for that. And some people I know can't bear it. And like, the thought of going to the cinema to watch something is like, what a waste of my time. It's like, no, I find I come out of that recharged. I'm like, yes, even if I've not liked the film, it's like, I've got an opinion about it now. I've got something else. It will spark conversation. So it's, so wasting time can be a good thing at times.
Okay.
Can you plan to waste your time?
To be fair, I am an avid cinema goer as well. I do like a good movie, to be honest.
Good man.
Yeah, I love it. And in the constant evolving business landscape, how do you stay adaptable and open to change? And are there any specific strategies that you remain innovative?
Yeah, that's quite a tricky question, that one, I think. We have the benefit that I have is that the environment that we choose to work in, as in the outdoors, is a pretty dynamic environment in itself. So embedded within our thinking is that sort of dynamic risk assessment for people's safety generally. But we try to bring that into what we do in the business as well. So we're constantly looking at ways that we can improve, ways that we can develop what we deliver to our clients. So we listen to our clients a lot, what they've got to say. After the day's out, we'll listen to our staff a lot. Excuse me. We'll also look at what else is going on within our sector to make sure that we're on par in lots of different ways. But in terms of like actual innovation, there's not so much you can do to reinvent walking that much. You know what I mean? But how we offer it, how we offer it is part of the challenge. So I take quite a lot from looking at other sectors. What are other sectors doing to innovate their business process? Or we can borrow things from other areas of life and take their learnings and try and see if it will fit and work for us. So it's for me, it's listening to other podcasts, it's watching the news, reading newsletters from other sectors. It might be from, obviously we work with the charity, so I want to understand what's going on in the charity sector, because that might innovate something that we do, which did in lockdown, when you see lots of small charities struggling, and then say, well, hang on, we've got an opportunity here. We're at the foothills of the mountains. I can access, even if it's just me, I can access the mountains every single day and take someone onto the mountains 365 days a year, which is great. And we can do it twice a day. We could, if we need to, during the day and once at night. I'll be absolutely exhausted, but we could literally do that. Not everyone has that ability. So why should charities, especially small charities that have really struggled, are on the brink of closing and therefore not being able to deliver what they do, have to pay up front to have access to these sorts of opportunities and challenges? It's like, that doesn't sit well with me, like morally. So I was like, well, let's just open them up. So we will open up, like this year we have 42 open dates on Yr Wyddfa for Climb Snowdon dates, which anybody could sign up to. So we went to our charities and said, you could just sign up. You advertise, pick the date. The dates are guaranteed to run because we know people will turn up for them. So even if you only get one person and that one person raises Alan Bark Foundation £320, which is the average fundraiser, they'll be like, there you go, you've got £320 that you didn't have before, and it's cost you not a penny. Whereas other organisations that will deliver events will go, oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, if you want to do a night walk, it's £189 and you need to book 10 spaces in advance, and suddenly you've got to find that money. Or if you can find the money, you've got the pressure to make sure you can recruit the people, which take more time and more money. So it's like, no, let's turn that on the head. Let's not be take, give a little bit. And if we work collaboratively with those people, they're going to get from it and we're going to get from it. And that's kind of part of our, that was one of our new missions. So that's how we adapted when we listened to what's going on in the world, in the marketplace, and go, yeah, we can do something about this. We could be a little bit disruptive, maybe. Hasn't made me popular with a few of my competitors / colleagues. That's for sure.
Well, that's a great example of being innovative, without a shadow of a doubt. Listen, I've really enjoyed this, Ross. I think you've got such a cool business. I want to go and climb Snowdon now and go fell running, but my leg would probably fall off, to be honest. But
we can go for a stroll anytime, Alan. No problem.
I love that. I love that. And do you get Bovril at the end? That's the best bit, isn't it?
Yeah, if you wish. Whatever floats your boat.
I've got one final question for you. So, what advice would you give to, I guess, aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey or maybe facing challenges in business? What top 3 pieces of advice would you give to them?
Oh, top 3 pieces. If you're passionate about it and you love it, then do it. If you lose that passion, maybe just review why you're there. That's probably my top tip of it. There are times when it'll be difficult. That doesn't mean that you don't still have a love and a joy for things, but you have to remember why you were there and ensure you're still on the same pathway. I think for me, no is as powerful as yes on a lot of occasions. It's really hard to say no, and we're programmed, especially in this, especially if you come like have to sell anything. It's like yes. But sometimes by saying actually, no, I can't do that for you right now because I've got too many other things and I'm not willing to compromise on my professional standards to do that. But I would love to be able to work with you in the future at some point. Majority of times, people have come back and they'll say, "Oh, well, can we do it next time?" We're like, "Yeah, okay, well, we can do that instead." And this gets knocked around a lot on social media I've seen recently, is about kind of failure, fear of failure. But actually, I'd say learn from other people's failure is kind of a safer bet. But don't be afraid. If you make a mistake, that's cool. Own your mistake. Know where you can learn from it. And also own your successes at the same time. And if you can find the balance between the two, just because something's gone well, you shouldn't. That doesn't mean you shouldn't look at it critically and go, how could we have done that a little bit better? Mm-hmm. Could we have done that more cost effectively? Could we have done it that was more engaging with our audience? Could I have saved some time prior if I'd have done, actually, I don't need to do this next time. We can do X, Y, and Z instead, and it will just smooth the whole process out. So balance your failures and your successes and learn from other people's as well, I think.
I love that. There's a phrase that I use, that success leaves footprints. Mm-hmm. So learning from other people's successes, learning from your own successes is as important as learning from your failures, without a doubt. What a way to end, Ross. I love that. 3 absolute golden nuggets there. Be passionate about it and just do it. And if you start to lose that passion, question how to get it back, or if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, it might just mean it's your time to move on to something different. And then that part of your journey's completed.
And no is as powerful as yes. And learn from your successes and learn from your failures. I love that. Really good. Thank you so much for being on, Ross. Really enjoyed that.
That was a pleasure.
And I'll now have to get fit because I think you're going to be dragging me up Snowdon soon.
Or many other mountains nearby.
Or many other mountains nearby. Other mountains are available, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Ross.
That was a pleasure. Thanks very much, Ali.